What is up, everybody, and welcome to REIL Talks Podcast. We're going to break down what it takes to live life on your terms through entrepreneurship, specifically real estate investing. So we're going to hit it hard, the good, the bad, and the real, because that climb, as any entrepreneur knows, is never smooth. My name is Mike Singletary. I'm your host. So let's get real. What is up? Welcome to another episode of REIL Talks. Today we got a guest that I'm super excited about. We're going to dive into a couple of things this time about a topic that a lot of real estate investors are obsessed about, positively and negatively, about scaling, one of them. This guy, he has scaled his business quite dramatically. He's a fourth generation real estate investor. His passion is to get up every day and help people with real estate related issues. He participates in dozens of transactions every month. I think that's probably that number has gone up, and strives to create a win-win solution for all parties involved. So in his free time, he likes to spend time with his wife, Cassie, at the lake and in the mountains. And I think he has a newborn as well, or not a newborn, a toddler. So, hey, welcome, Parker. How are you, man?
Doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I love investors that have short bios.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Try to keep it short and sweet, get to the point.
Well, I mean, the ones that have the longest, the biggest bios are usually ones that aren't doing a lot. Truthfully.
There may or may not be something to that. I'm super
excited to see what is up with you. Gosh, I know that we're friends on Facebook, but I'm not sure if we've ever met outside. Have we met? Because you look familiar.
We've virtually met many times. We'll leave it at that. I don't think we've met in person, but have seen a lot of your stuff for a long time, and glad we're finally getting connected on this.
Yeah, likewise, man. And obviously I follow you on Facebook, and man, you had a post recently that I thought was just fantastic. And the post was the one where you're like, we have 50 contracts in our pipeline right now under contract, and going from 5 to 50, and how many iterations, I guess, of your business that had to evolve to get to that point. I was like, dude, that is amazing. So are you talking about 50 a month, or what's your volume? What's that look like right now?
Yeah, well, don't get it twisted. It was 51, Mike. It was 50. We can't leave that last guy out. But no, definitely not a month. That might be sometime in the future, but it was 51. Just that's the active pipeline that we have right now. So we've got 20 or so. The numbers constantly moving, but we've got 20 or so in what we call the active stage, which is going to be under contract, waiting for the remainder of marketing data to be put in. Maybe we just got pictures and it's in that wholesale marketing draft, flyer creation period where we're getting that marketing put together. It's in marketing, pushing it out to the buyers, getting walkthroughs set up. And then after that, we get the buyer's contract and we move it to escrow. So the other 20 or so, 25 or so are in, which I think it's 27 right now that are in escrow, meaning they are locked in with B2C buyers. Some of those are my company for internal purchases that we just decide to keep for various exit strategies with hard earnest money and a closing date set.
Okay. Awesome, man. So, what was your volume? What was your scaling? What does your scaling look like? Well, what was your business like, 3-4 years ago? I'm not exactly sure how long you've been in this business, but walk me through how you scaled your business.
Yeah, so I'll start off with that. It was it's been about a decade, almost 10 years. 2015 was my first full-time year. Nice. Started out of college, always knew I wanted to be in real estate. Just had no idea what kind of channel or what real estate road I wanted to go down. There's so many, as you know, and it's easy to get shiny object syndrome. And I didn't want to get that analysis paralysis that everybody was talking about on podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff. So anyways, I stumbled into kind of being a real estate agent in the commercial space, working with tenants and landlords in the industrial sector. And believe it or not, I got fired from that job after about 7 or 8 months for being quote unquote too entrepreneurial, whatever that means or
What does that
meant
mean?
back then. Yeah, I don't know. I may or may not have been handwriting yellow letters at my desk, so maybe that had something to do with it. But that was kind of the start. And kind of long story short, to skip through that, lost that job, had stumbled into flipping houses as a rehabber about 4 or 5 months prior. And I was like, man, this is going to be my thing. This is cool. I wanted that 6-figure income. I knew it was going to take a little while to get there. So I needed that side gig. And maybe that was my first shiny object syndrome for better or for worse. But, got there and said, hey, if I ever quit or get fired or something like that, this is going to be my thing. So that ended up happening. I guess I kind of thought it into existence. And that was the end of 2014. So 2015 was that first year. Rehabbed. It took me 8 months to find my first deal. That deal was a rehab, and I didn't really know about wholesaling back then. I did a little bit, but I didn't want to be the wholesaler. I wanted to be the guy buying from the wholesaler. I wanted the before and after pictures when I used to think that had all the worth. So I did that, and then that year I bought a couple more and closed my first one, and is a process, and it's rehabbing houses is a totally different ball game from wholesaling. But again, I wanted to be that HGTV star. I got interviewed after about a year and a half or so for a television show. And I thought that was going to be the road. I was going to be one of those guys. And none of that ended up, coming into fruition. And I ended up just hating contractors.
Yeah.
And didn't want to work with us. Yeah. So I actually, to rewind, my first paycheck from real estate was, on the investment side, was a wholesale. But I didn't really know, I didn't tie it to that term. I had gone to an event, Matt Terrio, not sure if you're familiar with him. He was actually my first coach. I loved his Epic Real Estate Investing podcast. It was just that no BS mentality. Wow. It was no fluff. It was just full of good content. And I liked his style. And that's, I ended up paying him for one-on-one coaching in the beginning. But I went to his event and met some guy named Corey. And I told him this rehab, that it was my first house that I'd purchased. I told him that I was going to rehab this thing, and these are my numbers. And he's like, dude, why don't you try and wholesale this thing and quick flip it? You could probably make half, if not more, what you're going to try and make over the next 6 months. And I said, well, why would anybody pay more than what I paid for it? Because I ran my numbers and this, and that. And he's like, dude, why are you negotiating for somebody else that may be
somebody else's money?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, I sell to people that, in my opinion, overpay for properties all the time, but I'm not arguing with them. If they want to pay, let them pay. Long story short, that was my first deal. I went home, I put it on Craigslist, I found a buyer, I sold it, and had a wire transfer for like 18 grand in my account, within, 3 weeks or so. And that was like the first moment of, this is real. Like, I can do this.
Was that your first deal, or was that the first moment?
That was the first paycheck, first deal I contracted. Yep. Yeah. That was the deal that took 8 months to get. I had actually dropped a yellow letter in that guy's mailbox when I was back working at my old job, and he called me, and I had just dealt with no motivated sellers. Nobody was saying the things that everybody was saying they would say on these podcasts and books. And I'm like, where are these motivated people? And then this guy, this old man, this house was probably 15 minutes down the road for me, which was even cooler because I was at his doorstep, 30 minutes later, it feels like. But he said, the last thing he said was, I grew up in this house. I have a tear down lien on it. They're going to tear it down, and I can't see that happen. He said, if you can figure out how to keep them from tearing this house down and just keep it alive, I'll practically give it to you. Boom. And I about dropped the phone. I was like, there it is. That's that's what they're talking about. I got to find more of these people. And I bought that house, and like the teardown lien was like 10 days from actually them coming out and demolishing the property. So I called I told him before I hung up, I said, sir, I don't know how I'm going to do this in the timeline that we have, but I'm going to go figure it out. Let me get back with you. And I owned the house like 8 days later. Didn't know a closing attorney, had never bought a house before. But put all I had met some people from REIA meetings, and I basically used my resources. I brought the people together, the relationships that I had met from these meetings. And I said, dude, I got something. What do I need to do here? I owned it. I was going to rehab it. And then within 3 weeks, I had changed that mindset and ended up connecting with a cash buyer that bought it for much more than I ever thought was possible.
Yeah, that's so awesome, man. So there's a couple of things that really stuck out there. The biggest one is that you went 8 months, your first 8 months without a deal, and you powered through it. Like most people will quit after a month or 2 months, right? Yep. What kept you driving towards your goal? Or what kept you in the game?
I didn't have a plan B.
Okay.
There was no, I burned all the boats. There was like, I had to do this. Like this had to work.
Right.
I'd been fired from like 70 or 80% of the past jobs I had had in my younger life, for one reason or another, forgetting the schedule, showing up late. Like I'm a bad employee.
Yeah. So
whatever that means. So I just find, when I got fired from that last job, which is like kind of the first professional job I had been fired from, in my quote unquote career after college, I was like in the dumps and just really frustrated and down, pity party.
Sure.
And for a few days. And then I was just like, pick yourself up. Like, what is the common thread between all of these scenarios that have happened? And what I pulled out was A, I'm a bad employee, and B, that I will be as persistent as needed, and I will outwork everyone if I'm the one telling myself to do it.
Whoa.
Meaning, like, if it's up to me, I'll do it. If it's up to someone else, or I'm being told by, maybe it's the disobedience. I don't know what it is, but I just got this kind of like edge on me that if somebody else is telling me I need to do it, I'm not doing it. But if I'm telling myself it needs to happen because of one reason or another, like I'll go to the ends of the earth for it. Yeah. And so, that matched with ADD and, other things growing up, just trying to figure out what my strong suits were, you put those together and you're just like, all right, how do I use all of this to my advantage? And for me, that was entrepreneurship.
Okay. All right. Super cool, man. So what did your business look like the first couple of years?
First couple of years was rehabbing a few houses here and there and just learning the common mistakes that people go through initially. Bad partnerships, bad contractors, bad contracts. Just, kind of that just the real estate game, the bumps and bruises, the school of hard knocks. And then after even though I did make my first paycheck from wholesaling, it didn't really kick into gear that I wanted to own a wholesale business. I still wanted to do the rehabs for some reason. It just
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
Everybody gets in this business. Like I always like that too. Exactly the same. I wanted to flip houses, right? And I flipped, I think, my second house ever. I was under my mentor. He told me to wholesale 10 houses first before I even get into a flip. And I was like, of course, I'm like you. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I flipped it. I think I made 10,000, something small. Right? I just wanted the experience. But I think it's so funny because most people feel like wholesalers are not investors because they don't buy anything. And most people go in thinking that, to be a real investor, you got to fix and flip. And then what you see for most people that are doing volume are now they go in the opposite. They go to wholesaling as their first exit and fix and flip if they have to. Right.
Right.
And yeah. And is your business like that right now? Because that's definitely my business now.
Yeah. I mean, it's cherry picking for sure. We're basically looking at the the best deals. Like the only reason that I ended up starting a wholesaling business was to control the deal. Like I want passive income. Running a wholesaling business is a glorified it's not a 9 to 5. It's a glorified 6 to 8. And if you're not flipping your next house or managing your leads coming in or managing your KPIs and your cost per lead, cost per deal, gross multiple, average gross all the stuff, like you're not making money. So the only reason that I created a wholesaling business was I wanted a conveyor belt of off-market properties, off-market opportunities for me to be able to buy it to rent. That was it initially because that's all I knew. I was like, I don't want to buy these rentals from wholesalers. I want to I want to buy them without the $20K assignment fee on top of it. Or at that time, it was kind of like the $10K assignment fee has turned into the new $50K assignment fee. But that was the reason, so I could control that. And then over time, I've learned more and more exit strategies and added tools to the tool belt to further the dispo side.
I got you. Yeah, for sure, man. And cycle of money is a big deal too, that people need to take into account, right?
Totally.
That's the biggest thing about wholesaling. So as you're growing your business and you're growing, I'm assuming onesie twosies, a couple of a month here and there, and you're starting to scale up. What's your volume look like right now?
I would, we've done about 100 a year for the last couple of years. I unfortunately have been, last year was a really difficult year for me and a lot of people with the interest rates going up in 2022 and just kind of throwing 2023 for a loop. Last year for me was, we still did 92% of the gross revenue and transactions that we did in 2022, which was like the last on fire year, in my opinion. 2021 was just lit. But we did 92% last year from the year before top line, but our net was much, much lower. So what I phrased last year as is the year of working 3 times as hard to making less than half as much than in years past. But we grew significantly last year. Our team, our culture, our systems and processes, we got so much stronger. We're reaping what we sowed last year now. For perspective, we went into last year with 7 deals on the board, and we came into this year with 27 deals on the board, now up to that 51 range.
So what changed?
Our process for, first of all, started spending more on marketing. So that's an obvious thing. But better tracking on marketing, better tracking on my metrics to understand what levers I have the ability to pull and how to move them to get the result that I'm looking for. And then the team, just much more confidence in the structure of our team and the ability to maintain larger pipelines of deals. Before, if we would have had, before when we had over, 20 properties in active or in escrow that we were overall moving through that sales funnel, I mean, we were running around like chickens with our heads cut off. But with the systems and processes that we have and the trained staff that I've led to be able to operate those SOPs effectively, we have over doubled that and are still not running around like crazy.
That's awesome, man. So you did something that was super key, like on a conceived downtime, you worked internally and made yourself stronger. Right. So you can maximize when it turned around, because everything's a season, right? Most investors are going in a storm, they're in a storm, or they're coming out of the storm. That's the saying. And it's 100% true. So I don't know if you're going in a storm, but you're in a storm and you improved yourself. You made your foundation even stronger. Let's talk about your marketing, man. What marketing is working for you right now?
Need to sell my house fast. We're spending a good amount of money with them. So I call that PPL, pay per lead. So for those of you who aren't familiar with PPL, it's basically like if you compare it to PPC would be managing your own Google AdWords accounts and PPL would be paying a company to basically, they have a great domain like needtosellmyhousefast.com, and they leverage that by us, creating nationwide ad spend accounts, and they do source leads from other sources as well, and then they charge you per lead, anywhere from $100 to, I think our average with them is $285 or something,
Okay.
after incorporating refunds. So that's a big thing with PPL, is understanding how to and building a process around getting those refunds in a timely manner.
Well, that's super smart. So 285, what's your conversion on that lead to contract?
Unfortunately, it's not where I want it to be, but I just looked yesterday and our cost per deal, I think, was about $6,800, just under $7,000. So this is lead per deal now, closed deal, not contract. So incorporating your fallout as well. I think it was 21 or 22. Okay. So it takes us 22. And again, these aren't gross leads. These are net leads. And in our world, net leads mean an opportunity. Doesn't have to be motivated, but it's somebody with a house and they raise their hand and they'd be interested in looking at an offer. Yeah. So we get 21 of those, and that turns into a deal. And I think our average is somewhere around $25,000 for that source. So
what market are you in?
For PPL, we're spending in Columbia, Charleston, and Atlanta.
Okay. All right.
We've spent about $120,000 with them in the last 8 months or so. And we're right about that 3x.
Do you like them the most out of all? I think there's several of them out there.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of success with motivated leads. However, I didn't put the pedal down as much as I did. So that very well could have been something, a main factor. I used to use Fast Home Offer, FHO. I have not anymore. And again, the spend was not like it is now with Need to Sell. What else? There's Lead Zolo we're testing now. I've spent... we've got a couple contracts from it. Nothing's closed yet, but it does look like a viable source that if you put the pedal on, it would produce. But again, got to be on top of the got to be on top of the refunds. If you can pull a listing out of it, pull a listing out of it. Novations have been big for us, not necessarily a massive profit generator yet, because we've kind of been utilizing them as the last resort, try and save the deal kind of exit strategy. And we're working on that, but because my sales team has been identifying that strategy like that, it's come out in the framing to the seller, meaning we're offering the highest amount when we go novation. So that's the reason why our profit margins are lower on novations. What we're trying to angle is how can we still get the property on the MLS on the back end, use the novation exit strategy, but do it at a contract price where we'd be ripping a 30, 40K wholesale and we can turn it into a 70, 80, 96 figure novation deal.
Right, for sure. So, you've mentioned it a couple of times, your refund policy. Is there anything that you could share about your refund policy that you've dialed in?
There's no silver bullet with it. It's really just having a black and white process and then giving it to somebody and managing them to follow it. But it's really, when the lead, so we use Podio. So when the lead comes in, my sales team understands what kind of leads we can get refunds on. And then they will mark a button that says request refund. If it matches one of those, and then my VA gets that notification. He is connected with the portal. He goes in, he puts in the necessary information to request the refund, and then he follows up to make sure we got those refunds. And he kind of has a spreadsheet where he's managing that on like, which ones are we waiting on? Do I need to push them to give refunds on a couple? Am I missing any? And that's really all it is.
Okay. So you're just on top of it.
Yeah.
Is that PPL is your main strategy? You have other marketing campaigns?
No, direct mail is another one where a lot of contracts are coming from.
Okay.
That's, it definitely doesn't work as good as it used to work, in my opinion. But
everybody's saying that, man.
I don't know. Neither does anything.
Yeah, everybody's saying that too.
Yeah. It's but it used to be my bread and butter, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back to it. I've tried a lot of different things, and the response rates just used to be like 1% was pretty good. Now it's like half of 1% is pretty good. And, cost per deal is a little bit higher, but yeah, we're still around, and we used to be getting 6-7x return on our direct mail. I can't seem to break away from that 3 or so. Again, last year was a tough year, and a lot of people that, last year, nobody that didn't need to sell sold.
Yeah, it's a tough time. Owner ocs are really, really tough right now.
Say that again.
I said owner occupied houses.
Yeah, because they're sitting on a 3% mortgage.
Exactly.
It's a great rate, and there's no, prices still haven't really come down to adjust to where interest rates are. So if they're going to move, they're probably going to have to move into a smaller home or not as nice of a home as they're in now. And they obviously don't want to trade that rate. There's no real reason to get out there and trade up. Plus, there's no hedge funds. When rates dip down a little bit, I think the funds are going to come back in. I think they're sitting on an incredible amount of liquidity that they want to get utilized and put to use. And whenever that happens, I don't know if that's going to be in the low 6s. I don't know if it's going to have to get into the 5s for that to happen. If it's going to have to be there for a certain amount of time for the stability, box to be checked for them. But when that does happen, that's what's going to eat up a lot of the inventory. And then I think we're going to go through a similar kind of phase of rising prices like we went through in 2021, maybe not to the severity of that, because rates will, not be at 3% unless we're forced to shove that lever down again due to some outside factor.
I just don't see it going back down to that low for a long time, maybe never. I'm not sure. I'm not an economist or anything like that, but that was definitely a golden era. But I know within our market, because we're outbound guys, right? So we're data and outbound. I mean, we just focus on absentee primarily. Now we'll look at stack lists and motivated lists and stuff like that, but really because we're outbound, it's such a shotgun approach that, man, owner ocs are just nothing but a pain in the ass, So it sounds like you're kind of dealing with the same thing. I think everybody is, truthfully.
Yeah. How are you texting right now?
No, we stopped texting years ago. We run a call center, so we do cold calling. Like we're doing, hundreds of thousands a month of dials easily, right? So we also service our clients for that as well. As far as lead gen, I think is the easiest to fill a pipeline, but you better be really, really great at dispoing.
Yeah.
Because every lead sucks, right? Because nobody in the history of cold calling, when you call them, they're like, hey, man, great to hear from you. Love to sell you my house at 50%. That doesn't happen, right?
It's a longer sales cycle. Got to be a little bit more sharp on that sales acquisition side, but definitely a good way to fill the pipeline. And we've done many cold call deals over the years, but mainly inbound. So the other strategies, television, radio, we're on about 6 different radio stations in the Charleston and Columbia area. We are.
I don't want you to interrupt, but how is radio? Because I tried it once. I got a massive deal out of it, but man, I got a bunch of crap once. And truthfully, I got the deal right when I canceled. So I'm like, what I mean?
Man.
So how is radio working for you?
So I have some stations that I might only close. I think I only closed one deal in a year from that station. But it doesn't cost me much. I think it costs me like $600-$700 a month. And I'm putting out 40. I'm putting out 25 60-second ads a week. So 100 a month of 60s, not 30s. And That may get me on one station. I might do 8 deals. I think that's my heaviest hitter station. And I spend roughly $30,000 a month on that station. And then there's ones where, like I said, $800 a month, $700 a month. And I might do one deal, but that one deal is like 55 grand. So I guess I will explain it as it is a slow trickle of good deals, in my opinion, that have much less competition than my other sources do, which is kind of like television.
Yeah.
It's a slow trickle of deals. And right now I'm only 6 months in with TV, but like I said, with the radio and with direct mail, like it's good for branding as well. Yeah. And I'm doing way more. We do the best we can to track everything down to the source, but I'm doing much more website deals, like quote unquote SEO deals that I used to. And there's no way they just picked up all of a sudden, even though they're not telling us, yeah, I saw your commercial and then I heard you on the radio and then I went to Google and looked you up. That's what's happening. And we're just only able to attribute it to the website. So we are getting a better ROI there than what the KPI reports show. So as long as it's breaking even, for me right now where I'm at my business, that's something I'm going to keep for something that's giving me a branding push as well.
You're creating that omnipresence, which is unbelievably smart, right? But did I hear this correctly? You said you spent $30K on one radio station
for a year. Yeah.
For a year, a month?
No, for a whole year.
Oh, okay. No, I got you. Okay. $30K for the year. What is your monthly budget right now? Marketing budget?
We're spending about 60 right now a month.
Okay. That's hefty, man. That's awesome, brother.
Yeah, and I think we're a little under revenue where I'd like to be. You know, we should be pushing minimum 200 a month. I think we're at 500K right now for the year. We are at 500 for the year right now. We have about 450 or so in escrow set to close, and then probably another 500 plus or minus in active stuff like rehabs that are pending, or pending renovation, wholesales that we haven't locked in a buyer yet, stuff like that. So like it's there. And I recently ramped up from closer to that 30-40K a month to the 50-60 range. And so as we all know, it's going to take some time for, those additional leads to start playing out and close deals.
Did you stagger? Did you stagger it, or did you just jump up pretty hefty right off the bat?
I mean, I definitely staggered over the years. Okay. I would say I was probably we spent about $500,000 in marketing last year, and we closed 1.92. So that's like a 3.9x and some change. So that's there's that net kind of low net issue there. If you're only doing a little less than a 4x return, that eats away a bunch of potential profit. We definitely still made money and bought some rentals and stuff like that. But, the last 2 years before that were 6x and some change. And so, you imagine how much more profit goes in your back pocket when you go from a 3.9x to a 6.5x return on your marketing.
Yeah. That's a huge
I was 30 or 40 or so for most of the year last year. And then we actually dialed it down. I know some people say don't do this, but in December, we kind of pulled back a little bit and worked what we had. So I'm sure I'm noticing that, kind of right now as well, that slight lull. I just always like to think about it as whatever you're doing in marketing now, you're going to be reaping that, whether it be positive or negative, 60 to 90 days from now.
Dude, that's 100%. 100%. So tell me this, walk me through, what does your team look like right now?
Sure. We've got a kind of starting at the top, my wife and I run operations. She runs more of the CFO responsibilities. She project manages for, paying bills and stuff. Property manages for the rental portfolio, the long-term notes that we have, and the hard money business that we have. She makes sure those payments are coming in on a monthly basis, sending payoff letters, things like that. I am managing my general manager as well as direct reports with my sales manager and my head of operations. So kind of breaking that down, I have a GM that's overseeing the day-to-day. That's a new role for me. He was running a brick and mortar office branch in Charlotte. Right. Most of my business, all my business before then has been virtual. But I decided to open an office, and here we are a year later shutting that office down. So I'm going back virtual. I gave it a good shot.
Hold on. I got to say there for a second. Why? What happened, man?
It's tough to run an effective operation out of an office where you as the main person don't want to be there. And it's tough to do that. And I didn't want to be there, but I thought I had the guy. I thought I had the guy. And this guy had, well, I don't need to go all the way down this road, but basically I had the right person, wrong seat going on.
I got you, man.
And we pivoted a little bit for his skill set to be much more in line with what he enjoyed doing. And that just wasn't running an entire operation and growing that individually. That was overseeing the efficiency and streamlining the business, our net operating margins and scaling. And that doesn't need to happen in an office. So we moved the people that we had in sales virtual, and they were happy to do it. And we're working on the 3-year lease that I signed, and we're figuring that out. But yeah, it was a great lesson learned, and I wouldn't change anything. It's gotten us to the much better setup where we are today. So I have the GM, and then I have a sales manager that manages 6 acquisitions agents. Those are all virtual work from home acquisitions agents, as well as my manager. He's virtual work from home 1099 as well. Then I have my head of ops, who started out as my admin and then moved to my admin plus dispo, and then moved to plus TC. And then she would kind of that was when she was operations manager. And she would pick the ball up when sales got the contract signed, and she'd take it all the way to the closing table. It's easy to forget, but I can't express how much weight that takes off of a business owner when they no longer have to sell the deal or manage the deal, paper pushing to the wire transfer. When all that stuff is done, and it was the first time in my business career where a deal could go from contract signing all the way through dispo to transactional coordination, and I get a wire transfer and I didn't recognize the property address. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Now we scale from here.
That's awesome.
And so she does head of ops now, little title boost and pay difference there. She started doing some more operational stuff. We hired a full-time dispositions coordinator last year. So after 30 or so files at the same time, she called me. She's like, I'm pulling my hair out here. Like, you got to help me. I'm drowning in files. I can't do dispo and TC for 32 deals. We need a full-time dispo coordinator. So we were scrambling and we got that done. And she started taking on some more responsibility with our internal stuff. So utilities, insurance, managing contractors, fixing things, for hotels, if we're not doing a full rehab, things like that. HR, I'm going down to Charleston and we're doing an office day. So event planning, booking the place. We're going to Top Golf, booking and paying for that stuff. So quasi EA type deal as well.
That's awesome. So you got a couple of slashes on your team, right? That fill into different seats. Let me ask you this, man. What advice would you give that guy that is, doing 1 or 2 deals a month, maybe 3 or less, and wants to grow into an operation like yours? What would you tell that person?
Start with the end in mind. Really, really get clear on what you want. Do you want the big business? Do you want all the people? Do you want an office? Do you want to work from home? How many employees do you want? Like, I guess what I'm getting at is, do you really want this big business with the transactions and the people and the overhead and the $60,000 a month? Like, I mean, I lose sleep sometimes at night thinking about stuff. Like, I love what I'm doing and I know the direction that I'm going and why I'm going that direction, but it's not for everybody.
It's not, man.
And there's businesses that, I mean, there's levels beyond what I've done and what I'm shooting towards that I don't want, that I'm not going that far or in up complicated road.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm shooting for $100,000 a month in passive income. I mean, and once I check that box, effectively you can do whatever you want to do. You can do whatever you want to do long before that. But that's kind of playing the game. And when you get there, it might change and you want more and things like that. And that's life. But I think going back to the question is just really get a good idea of what you want and don't come up with that just based on what most other people want. The gurus are talking about and what the podcast is saying that you should do. Do that and then go find somebody who's done it that way. And I like two different mentors in that way. I like the person that's done it and that's done the whole thing. And maybe they're a little separated from the business now, but they can see big picture. And then go find somebody that has just recently gotten maybe a third of the way there to that end goal that you picked out. That's much more in the weeds still, that can give you that advice because they're in the trenches. A lot of these people go direct guru status, I'll say, and there's nothing wrong with them or that, but the advice is different sometimes. Sometimes you need that tactical, good advice that is only going to come from somebody that is, much more at that lower level still in it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't hire anybody that hasn't done it or aren't actively doing it, right? So I totally get that. So hey man, great insight. You're crushing it, brother. And and I know you. I've been in this business 10 years too, and I've scaled and I've had offices. And I got out of offices. Ironically, our story is very similar because I couldn't stand being there, and I felt like I needed it as well, right?
Yeah.
But I love that, and it's so this is not a complex business. It's actually a pretty simple business. It's just difficult, right? And it's very hard. And so I love have a really clear North Star to guide you because. One, you can definitely go off tracks with shiny object in this industry, 100%. But it's hard, and if you don't have that goal really entrenched in your mind, you'll lose it, right? So that's exactly what I'm hearing from your story. So, hey Parker, where can they find you, man?
I'll be honest, I'm working on my social media presence, but Facebook would probably be the easiest thing. Parker Stiles. Just my personal page. I believe I've got an Instagram page, but I haven't gotten on it in a few years. So don't find me there. Just message me on Facebook. Parker@BarringtonHomebuyers.com is the email. We do some hard money loans. If you're in South Carolina, Georgia, or North Carolina, that we could help you with there if you're looking for that kind of thing. I do a little bit of coaching on the side, but it's very low scale. And I really want to target that specific person that is in a specific place in their business to scale. I did a lot of coaching for people looking to, kind of just getting started. And for me right now, it wasn't my specific passion. I think mainly I'm just too invested in my own business right now, and that may change in the future. But that's going back to it. It's keep your head down, blinders on, get super focused on what you want. And yeah, you said it best, Mike. It's simple. It's just not easy.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll put all your handles in the show notes, man. Parker, I appreciate you, man. Guys, thanks a lot. Till next time, same place. Peace. So that's a wrap. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and I hope you received value from this episode. If so, please share this podcast to your brothers and sisters, and also hook up with us on Facebook, IG, and YouTube at REIL Talks. That's REIL Talks. Until next time, my friends, keep it cool, keep it real, and peace out.